Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back with another live stream of Shadowverse. Today is Friday, November 6th, starting a little late today. Um, I've just had a weird experience in the past couple days of just getting very tired and then sleeping for an hour and then waking up and then getting tired and sleeping for an hour. Or at least that's what it feels like. It's probably closer to sleeping for 4 hours or even 6 hours. Um, in very segmented breaks. The only thing I can think that's causing it is I bought some like barbecue, and apparently there's so much fat and oil in the barbecue that is having an tiring effect. Either that or I am simply um, I am simply just overexhausting myself, not recording footage, instead working on my server, which for the accountability section, I am continuously still working on it. Apparently, there was a social media promo that gave us a decent amount of stuff. I did see a notification on my cell phone that said, click on these to get free items, and then I clicked on it and I was still logged on this computer. Um, and it oddly wouldn't let me just kick myself off or anything. So it's also a little weird here that we don't have any more quests to get animated cards. We got 3 special quests to get animated cards for the new Shadowverse anime characters. And that's it. When we know that there's 10 characters. So I guess what that leaves us with is we just need to win matches. That's easy enough. So Shadowcraft or Havencraft. So I think we'll play Shadowcraft here on this arena run. But first, let's go to the shop. Oh, we've got some new supplies. So what does this really boil down to? You would need 7 tickets to purchase all the characters, which there's 1, 2, 3. Oh, and this is a great comparison. So we now know that this is Havencraft as a character. I figured that was the case. We now know that this guy is Bloodcraft. The girl is Shadowcraft, the younger girl. Hero is a Dragoncraft. And it's also telling us the name of the characters too. So Maru, Luca, Alice. Uh, there is something kind of genius with this design that they are addressing uh, with probably all the characters. Um, Compared to the standard Shadowverse characters, can we show these? Even in the remastered art of these characters, every single character is a kind of half torso shot. Every single character has a ridiculous amount of frilly things on their outfits. It's just way over designed. Um, Particularly Luna's outfit, because she's a younger girl, and you wouldn't imagine that any younger kid would want to wear that much frills. But like every single character, just way too much going on. Erica set again, way over designed, way too many ruffles, way too many little things. Where you have here a Forestcraft character of Mimori, where you just have a standard anime girl, no crazy hair even, other than maybe some curls of it sticking up, and a hair clip and a green uh, bow, and it seems like they all just wear kind of a school outfit. And then you have Kazuki, who same kind of outfit, same kind of school outfit as the Swordcraft character, Yellow Band. Then you have Kai with either a different school outfit or just a different outfit, curls and kind of crazy anime hair, but not a ridiculous amount of stuff going on here. You have a shirt that's a very standard shirt. They didn't bother to put like buttons on it or anything like that that would have to be overly animated. You can definitely feel that an animation team's mind was put into the design of these characters because they knew they were going to have to draw it over and over again to trace it. Even your main hero just has like a two-tone red and black hair and still mostly the exact same outfit. They all have these little Yu-Gi-Oh style armbands. Alice's outfit is the most decorated of the outfits since she almost certainly is younger. And still, it's not ridiculous. It's a very reasonable amount of art, particularly considering how in the Shadowverse game, you're not going to be seeing these characters. Luca clearly it has a different outfit, and Maru has a different outfit, and Maru's outfit is by far the most detailed, and it's still very, very reasonable. So how do we get 7 tickets? Let's see. Purchase the leader pack to get a special Shadowverse Champions battle sleeve. How do you get 7 tickets, though? Everything else has been on crystals, and definitely didn't want to do that. And when you present it this way, it does really feel like at some point you're just going to tell the people that, well, the new anime Shadowverse characters are just a sleep character pack, which might be some confirmation and some fairness there, where it might lead to some feelings of safety, where honestly I'm not really sure. I believe one can feel safe with the way Shadowverse is right now. It could very well be a case of the game setting up itself to change completely. And I don't know how exactly they would do that. I imagine it would probably be just a slow defocusing on the original characters, which, let's face it, they aren't too focused on right now anyways. And a slow increase of focus on the new characters. But they kind of need to wrap up the 2 keepers that we've seen somehow, and either that means that they need to kill off the main characters or have the main characters succeed. And I'm not sure which one this is going to be. Let's see. Legendary card pack includes at least one legendary. Ooh, I'll take that. This is different. We've never seen this before. So ideally, none of these legendaries would be duplicates. And ideally, a lot of these would be things that I hadn't gotten before. So we got one legendary there, and then I guess legendary as a draw just disappears at that point. Interesting. So let's go here, and then let's liquefy the extras. We had 1 gold extra and 3 silvers, so which can let us liquefy some more things. If I were to take some free time, which I should, frankly, do a lot of stuff with Shadowverse, it would be... Ooh, I've got like 1 hour. Talk about cutting it close. I should probably go and just craft some more cards, just for the sake of it, just to craft more cards, as it were, craft the older cards, try to have a bigger collection. Of course, even that idea falls into a dangerous realm, because if the Shadowverse collectible card game that we're playing is going to be slowly shifted, all of these anime characters that are decreasingly becoming lewd might at some point just get full redraws, and they may just get rid of like all the old art. That would be insane, but yeah, that would be an insane thing that's never been done before. But I don't know what else you do. You either try to relaunch Shadowverse with different art, which the idea of having two digital card games with two completely different arts is not reasonable, and they almost certainly would stop really supporting the old ones. The idea of a digital game going into a software rotation, as it were, every 4 years is a kind of ridiculous thought. But that might be what somebody does, and maybe Shadowverse will be the first company to do something like that. Ideally, what we'd like to see as card games, and it's a nasty thing to say, certainly, but ideally what you'd want to see is that the anime not catch on. And there's a decent chance of that. Like, there's not really anything special about the anime. It's just a Yu-Gi-Oh clone, whereas I'm sure there are plenty of other Yu-Gi-Oh clones, and maybe even a Yu-Gi-Oh airing at some point that would just catch everyone's attention. Also, I imagine with the seemingly death of Japanese arcades, that might also be an indication of the death of collectible gacha elements in general. So we may not have a Japanese audience, and that's who they're going to mostly be interested in. That there may just not be a Japanese audience out there that wants to play collectible card games anymore. So that is a possibility also. Okay, let's talk about the accountability section. I again have just been waking up, going to sleep, and working on my server. I was trying to set up Open LDAP, which is Linux, I imagine, Active Directory, or directory access program or something. Well, whatever. I don't know what LDAP actually stands for. It should stand for something, but in corporate environments, and I've come to the feeling, and I could be totally wrong about this since I've never really dealt with the Active Directory servers and LDAP in corporate environments. This is what is used to make a database of sorts, a kind of uniquely, I don't know what the right word would be. It's kind of like a uniquely overcomplicated database software that is supposed to work over the network, so that you could go to any or some console computers in an office and log in, and it would be able to get your login and let you log in, and potentially bring over files from my documents folder. In the back end, there's just a lot of what they call schemas that you could set up to do all kinds of things and integrate it theoretically with all kinds of programs. And I say theoretically there because, in my experience, Active Directory is just a pain in the butt, and it does not integrate with anything that I've tried, the two things I've really tried, in any real way. even the basic part of it, of logging in as a administrator to read the database, is not anything as simple as typing in admin. No, instead what you have to do is type in, I believe it's CN, which is, I guess, the chooser name or something. Who knows? Company name, or, and you have to type in CN equals, and then like admin, and then you have to type comma, and then you have to type in DC as in domain code, and then whatever domain name you've set it up against. It's all built around these domain base domain root concepts. So it would be like DC example, comma, DC com. It takes out all the periods, and those have to be separated into different DCs. So you've got a super long thing you have to type in for the login username. Passwords are pretty much the same, but then as far as I can figure, OpenLDAP, as I've got it set up, doesn't really build much of a default database or have any of the elements that you would expect to have in it. So there doesn't seem like there's always guaranteed to be a like group. You'd think when you made the administrator password, the administrator's password would be put into like the administrator user would be put into a group of administrators, and then when you make users passwords, you'd think just by default they'd be put into a default group of users. I don't know if that's always the case, and so it's just such a hassle, and I cannot get it to integrate with Nextcloud. There's supposedly supposed to be a bunch of things there, but I just don't have the schema right. I can't get it to integrate with Guacamole, which in Guacamole is a remote VNC virtual networking SSH remote desktop protocol software that lets all of your remote connections go to one website, and then the website gives you an HTML file client, so you don't have to install some kind of remote desktop software to log into and service these smaller components or these other computers. Theoretically, this kind of sandboxes or firewalls a lot of things into everything going through just a standard HTTPS port or an HTTP port, while you can firewall with your router all the other ports, so then people can't do port scans and can't really find or access your other computers, which Guacamole in itself is in the Docker form is a hassle, but Guacamole in general was always a hassle, very complicated setup. But it has its own database anyway, so even if it is trying to tie into LDAP, it doesn't really do that. So I think I'm just going to have to abandon LDAP as a concept. It'll be a project for another day, I imagine, and I'll just probably never do anything. That's really an example of something where I was just trying to learn it, and even in the process of learning it, it wasn't really worth it. In all honesty, if I could set up a big corporate office with multiple users and them all logging in and things like that, I don't think even now you would use LDAP so much. I think there's probably a Microsoft sign-in that has replaced it online, and I imagine that there might very well be a kind of corporate Microsoft solution to that too. And it almost certainly requires you to install a Microsoft Active Directory server and just go all Microsoft everywhere. Trying to emulate it with Linux software, I think, is probably the mistake. Of course, on the other thought, in most places, you don't need to give people user logins that are that unique at all. In most places, efficiency is just the key, and so you can very easily just say, all right, well, these computers are for these type of employees and these type of sort of logins. Go to this basic password, and you could easily have just one password shared among one password and one login be a local login and password. And that's about all you need to do. Maybe that doesn't set up network drives quite right, and I'd have to do some more investigation. But there's just kind of this security theater around Microsoft logins and passwords anyways. Ideally, what you would want to do is you would want some form of two-factor authentication where they have to plug in a USB key and that logs them in. And they don't even have to type in a password, because password resets are the main thing that IT people always get saddled with, is that just people forget their passwords, or you are constantly enforcing ridiculous rules to change the passwords, where like two-factor authentication is more interesting, or even one-factor authentication that's not a password is more ideal. But in most cases, you just want your computers logged in, always just automatically logged in. Like, I'm super security minded. My Windows computer, if it reboots, if it resets, automatically logs in. I never type in a password. I never log out. There's just no concern for that. If you're doing banking or medical, maybe you're a little bit more concerned there, but at a certain level, it is just the security of the building is way more important. As long as there isn't somebody in it allowed to just randomly wander into your office and behind and mess with your computers, you're perfectly fine. And if you've got like employees that are going onto other people's computers and messing with them, then you should definitely fire those employees. So I would much more invest, instead of putting passwords on computers, or very distinct, unique passwords and difficult passwords to crack. Instead of doing that, I would much more invest in just having security cameras and alarm systems in the building. If you can get footage of an employee getting on someone else's computer and messing with it, then you fire that employee, of course. But yeah, I just don't feel like LDAP works. I also think I set up a trivial FTP server. I may have mentioned that already, which is just network boots. I think I swapped around on that, and I'm just starting the process of going, all right, let's put the information in to start these servers and see what happens. We'll work on like putting the data into that information and configuring it later. It has occurred to me that with Docker Compose alone, you're not really going to get the settings you completely want. You are better off having a script that will also move some files around and adjust things. And there definitely are some programs that just inside the servers that just can't be configured through environmental variables, which is a shame because ideally that's what you'd want to have happen, is that you could just type one command and it would get everything to work. But no, for Nextcloud, for instance, trying to set up the users using LDAP was the goal, and that's not going to work. But what you can do instead is just make a script that will just use Nextcloud's own configuration program, which is called OCC, and just add users there. Also, you can add and enable apps from Nextcloud, which is going to be like way easier if I have to do a full rebuild, which almost certainly I will at some point. But yeah, there's just a bunch of hassle, a bunch of files that won't work. And unfortunately, it also doesn't really feel like you can just kind of keep backups of a folder and 100% have a recoverable backup from that point also, because there's too many things that show up in the database. So yeah, that's a bit of a hassle also.
Mother, father, come on.
Let's see. Do I have anything else to mention? No, I was just setting up like Libre, which is the ebook server, and Pterodactyl, and just going through the long list of just this an ever increasing number of servers, all of which are just for my own personal experiment. And then as far as trying to recover the data from my old server, it's like at 227%. I did move into using encrypted keys instead of passwords for the SSH connection between my old server and my new server, and just tried to tighten that up, which I was going to do that anyways. I just been dragging my heels on that. Speaking of dragging my heels, I also didn't play any games. I thought about it, but I've just not had a good time. A good couple hours to even think about what the next game I want to play is. I also need to upload videos, so I'm just really dropping the ball. And I will, without really getting into politics, I'll have to admit, like almost everybody else, that there has been kind of this major distraction with CNN and other news stations just dragging their feet and pretending like the US presidential election is going to get announced any second now, and they've been saying that for 3 days. In fact, there was a very specific point last night where it was very, very obvious that at least one or two of the CNN anchors were just straight up falling asleep. They were crashing. Crazy. And it really goes to show that they failed to have they failed to have some backup understudy type characters to announce and talk about things. It would have been fairly easy to keep all the primetime characters up until about midnight the first night, and then have introduced some new characters, some I wouldn't say interns, but lower level, like not on usually on screen characters. Um, there clearly has to be some kind of assistant or something that you would be able to find that could stand in for like the famous Anderson Cooper type people. And this would have been during the election, like the perfect time to bring them out in the middle of the night when almost certainly nothing is going to happen. Um, Frankly, it would be really smart for the likes of CNN or Fox News to, in the middle of the night, bring out somebody who is a little bit more in the middle and moderate to the more extreme politicized views that Fox News and CNN clearly, obviously hold. They could certainly test it out with some people that may never show up on TV again, and then that would have let the more famous people sleep during the night and then get back bright and early on in the morning, instead of just trying to push hype. Because yeah, you can't go 36 hours without crashing, without being really not in any kind of shape to be on TV or talking. As someone who's very familiar with being underslept and poorly slept, I can definitely tell you that. There's plenty of YouTubers that certainly you could have brought in some of the more medium style YouTubers that would have loved to have had a panel show on CNN and talked about the elections in the middle of the night and filled dead air. But yeah. And that certainly has been a long experience, and it's still going on, and it's fairly distracting. Which, yeah, at the moment, I would have to just recommend tuning out. It seems like there's going to be recounts and lawsuits for a while. Anyways, let's talk about video game news then. We have TechRaptor article here. The Medium release date has been delayed to 2021. Let's see, and it's not just COVID this time. It was banned in Australia, and perhaps that's the reason. They're saying it was due to COVID. This is weird. Like, first reason was COVID. Oh, the other is that it's coming out right when Cyberpunk is coming out, allegedly. So, yeah, this is the thing that I feared would happen if Cyberpunk delays its delays its announcement or delays its release. It's gonna just get in the way of another game, and then the another game is gonna domino and move its release date. And smaller games almost certainly have to do that. I can't really blame Bloober Team for delaying the launch of the Medium, because although it frankly is such a different game, that I don't think it really would have mattered that much. Here we can see we are not winning once again. I think either between Monday and Wednesday, nope, it would have had to have been on Wednesday after I ended the stream. I did build my shelf. I bought 2 shelves. Unfortunately, in building the first one, I found that either something went wrong and the height is wrong on it, but whatever. The height and the color don't quite exactly match the height and color of my other shelves. That was a concern. That hardly means the shelves are useless or anything like that. It just means that I have 2 shelves that are slightly mismatched that I could easily put in a different room and use in a different scenario at some point in the future if I'm going to get crazy enough to buy some more shelves, which I almost certainly am, as my Lego collection continuously grows. In all fairness, a lot of my shelves too need to be severely reorganized, and with those reorganizations, I think there actually is a lot of room to be regained. A lot of it will just boil down to what is the direction I want my Lego to be displayed in. Because you can certainly put a lot of things on the shelf, but then you don't have a big giant Lego city in the middle of a room. But yeah, I built 1 shelf. I still have the other one to build. It was particularly cheap. It had stickers on it that some came off easily, some didn't, which really stinks. It had a countersink that snapped on me and broke, but oddly the broken piece still stayed in and maintained enough pressure to do its job. And just even sliding the cheap cardboard backing into the back was a hassle. The cardboard backing is split in 2 and then held together with a black plastic guide strip that makes the backing of the bookcase also not particularly good. And what really stinks is that I found the manual for my old bookcases in cleaning up my files and paperwork and just getting rid of paperwork. And so now I know the exact brand, so I could potentially go back and see if that brand still exists and see if many years later I could potentially buy the exact same brand and model again. But I wouldn't be surprised if I can't. So I did accomplish that. I'm just in the process of doing a decent amount of spring cleaning. But I also don't expect that I'll be buying new bookshelves in another year or 2. Because there's just a lot of space commitment there, a lot of money commitment for bookshelves. They almost never go on sale unless they're particularly cheap, which cheap bookshelves very well might be the way to go for many, many people. Here we go. So let's move on. We've got a game on Steam here called Wrecked High Octane Stunts. I did have a thought, and I'm gonna see if I can work on this at some point, in which I think I might try and figure out a way to have the screen slowly move to like the left and then slowly move to like the right, and then maybe back and forth, maybe up and down, maybe in just a circular direction. I imagine random won't work. and I don't think OBS could do this through scene switching particularly quickly. But my general idea is there is a decent number of times over the year where we've seen videos play, almost never on Steam, and almost always Nintendo videos, advertisement videos and Nintendo Directs being played and then being content ID'd by Nintendo. So it probably isn't worth the attempt to dodge the stupid automatic content ID system, which is flawed and unfair and ridiculous. But I thought I might give it a try, because there definitely have been cases where it's just like, do I want to watch this video? Do I want to show off this video? Or is my channel going to get potentially content ID'd, potentially copyright struck? I don't know if I've ever been actually copyright struck. But then again, I also have never pursued any of the content IDs, so I've let a lot of people walk all over me.
Want to play?
My kingdom rise, I have transcended death.
Well, on to the next project.
Yep. As for this game, Wrecked, it's $4.79, a bunch of languages. I'll put it on the follow list, and really can't do anything more than that. Then I wanted to just go to Steam's store page for a second here, just to see, because I feel like they announced a there we go. We didn't qualify for final stage. I missed several days, almost certainly. Didn't get an achievement here. And we still want to play just Shadowcraft. And as far as this and rotation, I don't even think we have a Shadowcraft. We do. Alright, we'll try that. Yeah, I thought there was going to be another event just back to back, but apparently not. Code Vein, still fairly expensive, even discounted. This is Iceberg Interactive Week sale, but that's a typical sale. Yeah, I really am starting to wonder whether there actually will be any kind of November Black Friday experience. A lot of the Black Friday stuff is attempting to be this week-long series of sales, and the series of sales tend to seem like they are only going to be small groups of items that probably aren't really even worth it. Which, in all fairness, that's what Black Friday always was. Here we have a game on Steam called A Forgotten Loop, which seems to be some kind of puzzle game where you drag stones to a specific spot, and then they have a certain time in which they cool down and unlock the next spot. Interesting. So a lot of this imagery clearly is just deceptive. And really, this is just a single screen puzzle game, which has a unique problem of being not zoomed out right. It's $9.89, English only. I'm gonna put it on the follow list, but I see a lot of reasons why this wouldn't make it to the follow list. Let's see. Here, Tech Raptor has an article. Akira Yamaoka would love to return to Silent Hill. He is the composer. I think we've pretty much heard this from him several times. It really doesn't mean anything. There is also a story worth mentioning that PT was actually playable on backwards compatibility originally, and they blocked it from being backwards compatible. So yeah, there's just no chance of that happening. TechRaptor actually has two articles here: Silent Hill composer Akira Yamamoka interview, World of Tanks, Silent Hill, and more. Apparently he worked on World of Tanks. This is kind of interesting in the idea that this looks like this is an official interview with someone speaking Japanese, which I have not seen TechRaptor do that before. Yeah, says it is a direct interview from TechRaptor to him, which, yeah, corporations are people, yes, again, being a focus on that thought. Let's do this. And then do this. That. 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 And that. So we might be seeing a beginning of something better as far as TechRaptor if they go out and seek more interviews and do less tie-ins with like a Nutaku to advertise adult games or promotions of games that are just don't even have release dates yet. Here we have a game on Steam called Cytoclash, which looks like it's a shooter of germs. And there's an idea there, but this kind of feels like an older game than it really is. There's germs off screen that you get little indicators for. It really feels like a light gun game in a world where light gun games don't really exist, so like you almost certainly couldn't play this with a controller. It's $5.94, English only, with 23 achievements. It says light gun style action games. Yep, there's just that problem. This. And then I guess we play this again. Here we have a game on Steam called From the Depths, which looks like it's a machine building game that seems like it's all over the place as far as building ships and like walking ships. It's rated very positively, but even at that, I just don't feel like I'm interested in that idea. Like, if I wasn't building them myself, and if this was just a weird world where there were transformers that come out of the ocean and then transform into land-based vehicles, and it's like a planet that is mostly covered in water, so that makes sense, and then it can release or transform into flying creatures, even that would be fine. One of the things I would say, this is $19.99 English with a third-party EULA also. That's way too expensive. Like, Transformers, when they introduced their transforming abilities, really kept it fairly minimal to start with. So you weren't really... Yeah, you weren't really dealing with Transformers that transformed into a whole bunch of things. The Autobots turned into cars, And since there was only so many Autobots, they only turned into so many cars to start off with. The Decepticons mostly turned into jet fighters and airplanes. So it was just cars versus airplanes. And it was only through many, many generations and just continued effort and growth that they started to add more characters. Okay.
I'll show you. Yes, I'm coming. Detestable.
I actually win here.
Like this, right?
Wind, grant them courage.
So yeah, it wasn't until Generations that you started having like the Transformers turn into dinosaurs and just more and more cars and more vehicles of sorts. I don't know if there ever was a large collection of Transformers that turned into boats or submarines.
Go home.
And I imagine Transformers is as popular as it has ever been since its initial popularity, which is to say, not that popular. Because they really haven't done a great job with maintaining the Transformers brand. Right. Destroy a follower, reanimate 3, or do this.
Why should the dead justify their anger? Death is sublime.
Next, we have a game on Steam here called Xenu Adventure, SZNIW Adventure. This looks very animated, like a kid-friendly dinosaur point-and-click adventure. Well, that looks interesting. I've never heard of this publisher or developer, but I'll put it on the follow list. It's just a lot of animation for a point-and-click adventure. $8.99 English and Polish. And maybe that is the future that people should embrace with point-and-click adventures is, hey, if you've got all the characters in animation loops, and if you've actually got a decent experience visually, maybe you can bring in more of an audience to play what is a relatively slower, more thoughtful experience compared to your standard run and gun fare. Gamatsu has an article here. Space Lords is going to run at 4K at 60 frames per second on the PS5 and Xbox Series S or X. Probably the X only. Because I don't think the S can even do 4K. I have no idea what Space Lords is now.
Mother, father,
So,
come on.
you have to take that.
Fighting in despair, all you know?
This is an interesting announcement from Gamatsu. Take-Two Interactive is in talks to acquire Codemasters, which, yeah, Take-Two, I believe, is the developers of the publishers of the Borderlands series, or is that 2K, or are they the same people? Take-Two Interactive, okay, it says, is the parent company of 2K Games, Rockstar Games, and Private Division. So, yeah. If they were to acquire Codemasters, Codemasters is mostly known for the Dirt series and the racing game series. So that would solve a problem that has been in existence with Codemasters for a while, is that they can't really seem to keep the music licenses for their old games, and or they just intentionally pull the sale of their old games and force people into buying their new dirt games, and they seem to be very on and off as far as whether their racing games are good. I would also say of the Take-Two companies, Rockstar Games, 2K Games, and I don't think Private Division either. I don't think any of them have any racing games. So that is an interesting way to diversify, as it were.
I interest you in reasonably priced games, but make it fashion.
So, yeah. So I could definitely see them. It says, should Take-Two Interactive make an official bid, the board intends to unanimously recommend that shareholders accept that offer. Does that mean that Codemasters potentially are going to become a much better developer and publisher, and they're going to have more funding? Or does that mean that they're going to just acquire the properties and then never make another racing game again? We just don't know. I would say probably Take-Two is a little bit more conscientious about their acquisitions, and that they wouldn't just be trying to hire these people to get programmers that could program racing games unless they wanted to sell racing games. It just wouldn't really make sense. They're not even really competition. So there really isn't a good reason for them to acquire somebody in that fashion. Okay. Get that. I wouldn't be surprised one bit if we start to see a decent number of talks of acquisitions. There's really not a bad argument against that idea. Yeah, I think we are very, very likely to see more acquisitions ahead. Moving on, Watchdog Legion's review from TechRaptor, which, okay, you get to see 10 Downing Street, which I almost certainly in the Eye of the World, which is what this is, I believe, called. And there's Big Bend with a logo and neon lights on it. And let's see, they gave it a 7.0. I enjoyed my time with Watchdog Legions, but the whole time I played it, I was fishing for more, and instead of wishing for more. Pros, beautiful world, interesting ideas, hacking still feels great. Cons, the world feels empty, and it's just not fleshed out. Which, for these kind of open world experiences, it does open up an interesting thought around how do you remaster or remake an open world experience so that it is something of a great experience compared to just polishing the visuals, which is what you're pretty much going to get in any kind of remaster or remake. If you think about like Assassin's Creed 1 or Assassin's Creed 2 and Brotherhood and Revelation, the Ezio trilogy, like it'd be very, very difficult to eliminate a lot of that content and merge that into a shorter, more more abridged experience, unless you're just willing to take an axe to the story and gameplay and remove tons of stuff. Summon a zombie, deal 5 damage. Start with that. Play a ward and
What brings you here, miscreants?
evolve. Let's see.
I'll show you.
This covenant extends beyond death. But make it fashion. Death will not let you pass.
There we go. And for me, I will say, since I haven't played any of the Watchdog games, and I've really failed to even play any of the anything past Assassin's Creed Revelation, and I was trying to play through all of those. I did play 3 before I started my YouTube channel, but after that, I haven't actually even played any of those games. It becomes fairly difficult to justify. Can I not? This one? Apparently not.
If you value your life, come no further.
Okay. Necromancy, summon a zombie. Can't evolve.
Life is too dear.
Come out wherever you are.
Wind, grant them courage.
Yeah, I don't think I'm gonna win here. Here we have a joke game on Steam called The Banana Save the World. Yeah, I was saying I just don't know if I can really justify playing Watch Dogs as a series. Kind of the same way I don't think I can justify playing Mass Effect as a series. There's just too much there now. This looks like it's nothing for $9.99 English and French. Looks like it's just a banana character doing some platforming. Which I just don't think that's gonna work. Let's try this.
We walk hand in hand till death do us part.
Let's see. Six other random followers.
I long for you. Isn't love amazing?
Well, that was crazy. I shouldn't have even attacked.
This armor's turning out pretty useful.
Should have just kept this thing alive.
Such a lovely couple.
Yum-yums to fill my tum-tums.
Alright, well. Play that. I think we have to start with this. And then Storm.
For you. Detestable.
Let's go ahead and hit that, I guess.
I'm coming. Detestable.
What's for din?
There we go.
Stop.
I might actually win here. Next, we have a game on Steam here called Whispers of the Ancients. I have no idea what just happened there, but apparently I just lost. Yeah, we are not getting anywhere fast with this Shadowcraft, so let's go and try to play some unlimited Shadowcraft. You know what I should be doing is just playing unranked Shadowcraft. Yeah, we have a game here on Steam called Whispers of the Ancients, which looks to me like it's a slightly nice visual game, but then I'm not sure that there's actually any experience here. They're calling it a 3D platformer adventure RPG game. They're calling it early access with online co-op in English and 14 achievements. I just don't think there's an actual game here. I think there's visuals here, but even this video doesn't want to move very fast to show me anything. Yeah, it looks to me like they've probably bought some slightly better looking assets to make a parkour experience. And that's it. It almost seems like the world is twisted, which that as an idea is slightly interesting. If you were in a platforming game where the world at one point got just twisted and reality got changed and shifted, and so what once was a wall now is a ramp, but you'd almost certainly have to establish a very pretty visual world first and then twist it later, and then maybe untwist it or add more movement at the time. Yeah, and I don't know if I would just want a platformer for a pretty game. Honestly, the prettier the game is, the more I want it to be something like Myst or a puzzle game. I don't think that works as well for something that you're going to run very fast through. Or same is kind of true with horror games too. You're more than likely gonna not spend a lot of time in a horror environment. So it would be interesting to have a very, very pretty horror environment, but I played a game just a few months ago that was kind of a horror environment with a very pretty atmosphere, and it did not thematically connect well. It just seemed kind of silly. Speaking of silly horror, here we have a game called Cover Your Eyes, which just looks like a RPG Maker game or a NES game of some sort. It's $8.49, which looks too expensive for what it is. English full audio. They're saying it's an 8-bit survival horror game. And yeah, but still that just looks a little bit too close to an RPG Maker for my taste. Here we have a game on Steam called Alien Shooter Last Hope, which looks like an old game but says it's brand new. Has a top-down twin-stick shooter. There's just way too many particles and blood splatter. $4.49 English and Russian. I can't even really call that a Russian troll game though, or a low effort game, because it looks like something. It just looks like a very old game.
Make out eternal vows.
Let's see. Okay. That might help. I suppose I should mention that Destiny Child is on to their next event where the two non-main characters, play Romeo and Juliet, and it's all built around doing the play of Romeo and Juliet, which, okay. Like, not a powerful new story by any means, but Romeo and Juliet certainly is not something that you can poo-poo on that much.
You'll accept me, won't you?
And if anything, it really isn't so much that they are just doing Romeo and Juliet. They are telling a story of people putting on the play of Romeo and Juliet, which is a fairly different experience. They only mention probably 4 or 5 lines from the actual play. In all fairness, I don't think I would want to sit through the entirety of any Shakespearean play. It's just too long, too slow, not something that. Oh man, I hate this card. I really feel like in this newest expansion, there's some major improvements that need to be. Major tweaks. I've never really been a huge fan of them nerfing cards, but in this instance, there's just some balance that is broken here. Steadfast Samurai, for instance, being a great example of that. Which also just probably means I should just have Steadfast Samurai in all of my decks. Here we have a game on Steam called The Choice of Life Middle Ages, which seems like it's a lot like Your Majesty, in which you have 2 options and you take your pick. Although compared to Your Majesty, they seem to have mostly simplified it by giving you just a general life bar and a general recap, and maybe some levels. And there's more visuals here. This looks more interesting than that, than Your Majesty, or Your Highness. Reigns. That's what I'm trying to talk about. Is Reigns. Reigns' art style made it a little bit less interesting to play anymore, at least. This is English and Russian. I'm going to put this on the follow list.
Lands of wonder, lands of marvels. Want to play? Let the fantasy embrace. Wish for anything.
Yep, I think I just probably lost with that Dark Alice card. Gamma Sutra has an article here. Live games continue to lead at Take-Two as recurrent consumer spend jumps 56%, which is to say they're getting more and more of their money from NBA 2K20 and 21, Red Theft Auto, Grand Theft Auto, Red Dead, and other games like that are just live services now and full of microtransactions. Do I seriously not have another Shadowcraft deck? No, I do. I have another Shadowcraft deck. Let's try that one. So it might very well become a case where if Codemasters is acquired, then all the Dirt games might just become live games, live services games, and they very well might just become garbage. And that's something that I had not really considered, but it definitely is the case that Codemasters' quality in their games may get worse and worse, as maybe all the 2K game companies' quality has gotten worse and worse. Here we have a game on Steam, Paw Patrol Mighty Pups Save Adventure Bay, which this definitely looks like a Paw Patrol official license kids game. And so I'm going to put it on the fall list pretty much for that reason. It's $39.99, which is way too expensive. And I'm not sure anybody really cares about Paw Patrol. Let's see, and this developer has apparently only published this one game. I don't feel like that's the truth, though. I feel like there was some other Paw Patrol games. Yeah, there's several other Paw Patrol games, and they're all way, way overpriced. No, there's one other. And this came out in 2018, and it was rated very positively. Alright, well. I don't know if I really want to go and seek out to play more kids games at this point. It's frankly not a major focus. There's a difference between the Lego games that I genuinely do enjoy and seeking out the idea of trying to cover more and more kids games that I wouldn't enjoy really. With YouTube specifically, they pretty much haven't talked about making channels focused towards young kids anymore at all. They've gotten over that controversy just to move on to the next controversy, but one assumes that small kids channels or trying to make content to target kids or even a little bit on your channel is still not really the right move. I would also say YouTube has probably changed their algorithm in a massive, massive way, because I am absolutely not getting suggested new things anymore. I am getting auto-played into watching the exact same red letter media videos that I've seen over and over again. I will literally start watching something completely unrelated to like a red letter media video, and it will autoplay me into red letter media videos. I was going to do an experiment just to see what happens if I watch one of my own videos and what that auto plays into, but I suspect at this point it auto plays into something completely unrelated. I wouldn't be surprised if you watched one of my videos and then the autoplay to the next video puts you at a like giant bomb video or a angry video game nerd video, some major video, PewDiePie video. But it seems like the algorithm has completely reduced any impressions it was willing to give to new content creators or small content creators. And more, it really just wants you to watch the same channels over and over again. Maybe it's de-emphasized a little bit about having you watch the exact same videos over and over again, because for a brief second there, I was definitely getting a lot of that. saw a teardown on the PlayStation 5 controller. Apparently, the way it gives you force feedback and changes the push on the triggers is it has a like magnetic strip and sensor. I think that's what I saw on the trigger to read how far it's gone, or it's got something that spins a potentiometer or a encoder. I think I call it it's probably an encoder. And so the encoder knows how far you pull the trigger, and then to combat that, and almost certainly what this is as soon as you start to push it, it loops back a signal and amplifies it based on a value to a motor that is actually pushing slightly behind back on it. So as you're pulling the trigger, you're actually fighting the motor and spinning the motor in the opposite direction, actually generating a small amount of electricity in the process also. Which is an interesting idea. I thought it was going to potentially be a spring on a motor, and then the spring would just get more compressed and less compressed. But they eliminated the spring part of that for the most part. There probably is a spring in it still. And yeah, that might be a new thing. That very well might be a new thing that we start to see done. I think we have to do this.
Attention everyone, I need to borrow your bones.
And then
Shall we?
that. And that. Here we have a game on Steam called Adderpan. I have no idea. Looks like it's a dark screenshot horror game. Looks like it might just be a Five Nights at Freddy's clone. $4.99 English only. Whatever it is, it's not interesting enough looking. Some of the Rockstar games were mentioned, which ones are backwards compatible. So for the Xbox One, all the Xbox Series games, all previously backward compatible games on the Xbox One will also be backward compatible. No surprise there. So that's all of these games, a bunch of GTAs, and Red Dead Redemption, and Table Tennis and Bully Scholarship Edition. And then for the PlayStation 4, it's just going to be these games, or for the PlayStation 5, Bully, GTAs, Manhunt not listed here, Max Payne not listed here, Red Dead Revolver not listed here, and The Warriors. So you will have a bit of a choice you're going to have to make.
Come out wherever you are.
See
Death will
this.
not let you pass.
Shall we?
Stop!
Hmm.
No!
See, the problem here is you
That was bones.
spend time watching that animation, and then it slows down the game potentially. This character's just not playing. TechRaptor has an article here. The PlayStation 5 will not be available to purchase in store on launch day, which apparently means anywhere. And I guess that would be the only fair way to do that, because Best Buy would certainly throw a fit if Walmart had them and could sell them, and almost certainly somebody does have them and can sell them, but they don't want to
extends beyond death.
Interesting.
Death will not let you pass.
Well, that was a victory, but that was just handed to me, definitely.
I did it! I won!
Let's see. Not really making any progress on that. 3 more Shadowcraft victories needed. Unless I get a couple of quick disconnects, the odds of that happening seem very low. Here we have an old game called Time Quest, being published by Ziggurat and Legendary Entertainment. A legendary graphical text adventure. I feel like I remember seeing this
Mother,
at some point. I don't think I ever really played it. And certainly a game like this is just so old that you'd really have to have some major nostalgia for it. It does feel like this is probably Where in the World is, Where in Time is Carmen Sandiego type game clone. You can see here, this is an example of the level of graphics that one could squeeze into something like a floppy disk. And so you would spend a lot of time pixel by pixel drawing an image like this, and then the rest of it is some very basic menus, if you even get that, and a lot of text. $4.68 is fairly expensive for an old game, English only. At least it's not claiming full audio, because obviously not. And yeah, this is definitely the Western predecessor to visual novels. So you could maybe take it that this is why Western gamers are not so into visual novels, is because they had a whole generation of text parsing, like at best mediocre written visual novel experiences. I don't think that's really the case. I don't think that even in its heyday something like Time Quest was probably super popular, because even around that time, 93, you would have probably had games like Doom.
Together we are whole.
So yeah, that becomes impossible to put on the following list. And then here we have also Hunting Unlimited 3, which is also from Ziggurat. So they just dumped a bunch of games on their Steam listing. No reason to do that, frankly. You can space it out a week. $6.69 English full audio on this one. I couldn't imagine justifying I really couldn't imagine ever justifying playing a hunting game unless it was a brand new hunting game that was really, really well polished visually. Here we have a game called Less Manly in Search for the King, which is definitely wasn't. This is 1990, where the other game was 1993. This looks like a Leisure Suit Larry game, perhaps without the adult content so much, as a point and click adventure. Let's see, I could put this on the follow list, but I'm not sure I could justify this. $4.68. You'd almost certainly have to play this game in between playing some Leisure Suit Larry games. And it probably is just like a great example of why the Leisure Suit Larry games are better suited to be adult content versus not being adult content. And because that is a fairly good twist to them. Here we can see Less Manly in Lost in LA, which honestly, this one's tagged with nudity, so At a certain point, I think they even abandoned that idea.
Travel in search of
$4.68 English. So yeah, it would definitely be a case at this point, unless Manly looks completely different in this image. And this came out in 91. So they very, very quickly abandoned the idea of, oh, it was going to not be like Leisure Suit Larry, and instead just made it completely like Leisure Suit Larry, with some of the images being very poor scans of actual footage. See. That.
Together we are whole.
And that.
Knock 'em out wherever you are.
And hit that.
Forget the
And hit that. And there might be a real problem with actual nudity on YouTube. I haven't really given it any thought as far as, hey, this is a live action image versus, say, the animated style of nudity that comes in usually in adult games, usually particularly anime games. Yeah, at a certain level, there definitely are. Like, I wouldn't play BMX Triple X probably and try to put that on YouTube and show anything on there. I'd have to censor it heavily. Whereas The Witcher 3's nudity sections probably would have been fine by the new standard to have been completely uncensored.
Love the feel of the earth.
Moving on, we have a review for the game The Falconer, which I don't think this is one of the Falcon games that I've been seeing lately. Seems to be yet another Falcon game. They give it a 7.5. The Falconer is an interesting twist on... Let's see. I can do this.
Darling, you complete the living
not a quack. You'll see.
Let's see. Can't evolve.
A clean cut is all I need. Forget the aesthetic.
I failed.
Yeah, it says the Falconer is an interesting take on aerial combat genre, putting players in the saddle of large birds and setting across a flood world in search of balance between warring factions. While the story and world do feel incomplete, the flight combat does do a good job of staying entertaining. Prose, interesting world and lore that feels incomplete. Control feels good, but then there's escort missions and there are large scale battles. So, yeah. So what do you do with a game that you hadn't even heard of before, and then it's getting average ratings at most, particularly if you don't see it on Steam. These are games easily forgotten. Gamatsu has a article here. Boral Blade for PC launches in early access on November 12th. It's from Frozen Byte. I haven't even heard of this game being announced, and I felt like Frozen Byte was a decent developer. But yeah, looking at this seems to be a little low polygon, seems to be just a For Honor style clone, which even For Honor never felt like it really could succeed.
trained you. Time for a do-over.
Okay. I
Love
can't
be
evolve.
sold.
Can't evolve anything. And I can see the beginning of the end, and we've only been going an hour and 34 minutes, which is fine for me on a Friday. Oops. I didn't even set the chat to show me all chat messages. But apparently, of course, being a Friday, nobody's said anything. We have an article here from TechRaptor. RimWorld inspiring amazing cultivation simulator is releasing. A RimWorld inspired amazing cultivation simulator is releasing soon. This feels like a Chinese, like, farming game. Yep, feels way too Chinese. Giant monsters and kind of like a tower defense with a lot of stuff on top of it. I thought it was going to be a farming game, but no, I guess it really isn't. It's more... Although it kind of does feel like you are doing a city sim and occasionally you get attacked by dragons. There's definitely a case to be made that I personally have just been burnt out on burnt out on the idea of Chinese ancient Chinese based story games. Like, it's just never done well. It just all looks the exact same. It does not. It's been so generified, I guess is maybe a word, that it's almost like bottled water. Very few people, frankly, only extremely picky people care about what kind of bottled water they're getting, or that they're getting bottled water at all. The vast majority of people go, oh yeah, I'll drink some water, and just drink water. And one would hope that more people would just drink regular tap water if it's safe to drink tap water in their area. Here we have a Polygon article. You don't look at Polygon very often. PT is not playable on the PS5. There was backward compatibility here. It's gone now. You can see on Polygon there's just a ton of ads that are like not getting blocked by my ad blocker because they're all internal ads and just a ton of visual garbage there that I have not really dealt with, because very quickly it's don't look at Polygon articles, but with see. Let's come over here and play.
The corrupted soil style will not tolerate evil. I demand a rematch.
Let's see. Let's keep on playing.
I need to borrow your bones. I'll face you head on.
See what's, I guess, do this. Evolve here.
What a bona fide! That was bona
in the turn. There we go. Yeah, and I boned that up. So here's what happens when you go wrong with the U-block origin and you select the wrong things, is that it will grab the extra elements and then you can't see the article. And that requires going back and changing the settings. But whatever. I'll go back and fix that later. Let's see. Destroy an enemy, summon that. Reanimate 3.
Come out wherever you are. Want to play? The rage, wanna join us? I love the feel of the earth.
Moving on. Let's keep on moving. Control Ultimate Edition has been delayed on next gen until 2021. So all that BS around not getting free upgrades and having to buy the Ultimate Edition on current consoles to get the visual upgrade patch, it's like all that BS, and now they're just jerking your chain again. I wouldn't be surprised if they're actually not really planning on ever yeah, let's see. Yeah, I really wouldn't be surprised if they're actually never planning on doing the releasing it on next generation consoles, or it's just going to be a huge disappointment. Moving on, we have a Gamatsu article here. Shenmue 3 for PC is coming to Steam on November 19th, 1 year after Epic Games Store. I don't think Shenmue 3 really justifies being ever played, unfortunately. I don't think the Shenmue series is worth playing at all. I'd be much more willing to play the Yakuza game. I think that's the series to potentially play. Gamatsu has an article. Falcom Day has been set for December 20th. This is a announcement presentation from Falcom for 2021. Here we can see a lot of characters from a lot of games that I think probably some of these are recognizable if I was a little bit smarter as far as these games, but I don't even know. The Legend of Heroes is the only game actually being mentioned. Unfortunately, when you have that case, let's see, Reanimate 7. Let's see if that works.
Show me what did you make it all better.
Yeah, any Japanese presentation or announcement of games, though, is really just an announcement for an announcement for an announcement, and it just takes forever. Next we have a game on Steam here called Double Turn, which looks like it's a pixely brawler in the ring of wrestling, fake wrestling, which that would have been an interesting idea perhaps if this was a single player game, but it falls apart for me as it's really a player versus player game. And it doesn't have any online. It's English full audio, $3.99. The price is right, but and I like the animation and everything here, but I think you probably are gonna at best go through a series of characters that's gonna be fairly small. I wonder how many characters there are even to play as. The Brawler, the High Flyer, the Striker, the Showman. 4 characters. So, best case scenario playing as a single player, you fight against 4 characters. Maybe they can figure out a way to do that multiple times. But by the 4th time you've fought the 4th character.
I long for you.
Let's see.
Isn't love amazing?
So if he can't do 2 damage to me, I've won, but almost certainly he can. Let's see, next we have a game on Steam here called Lawyer Guy, Defender of Justice, which is just a low effort platforming game. Early access free, English only. Why even why even waste your time to say early access at that point if it's free? Seems fairly crazy. Well, this next game is tagged nudity and sexual content, and I believe him, so. Evolve this follower, gain storm. Okay, if I do that, it'll be a 5/4, and he can attack twice, so he could do 5, or we could do this. And
Relax. Your death will be swift. Guilty.
yeah, I just think like I'm gonna lose here because he's just gonna refill all his health and draw a bunch of cards. So yeah, the game I'm looking at is called Happy Quest. It's a match 3 game set in kind of a fantasy world with some large-breasted, I wouldn't really call them anime characters, I'd call them more fantasy characters. Supports a bunch of languages. There's another game called Happy Numbers that they're advertising. I think I can probably show. It's $1.39 too, so it's actually very well priced here. So yeah, you have a large busted character here, a large busted character here, large busted character here. But then the actual game is just match 3 game, player versus player, and I think actually it's fairly reasonable at $1.39 discounted. So I'm gonna put this on the fall list, and although it does certainly beg big questions as to why I would want to play that instead of playing something like, let's see, gain 4 shadows.
Die.
We can hit that, and we can hit that, and then we lose. I'm actually it's very nice to see a game like Happy Quest just put on Steam. It seems like it is being very just straightforward and honest about what it's selling. It's pricing itself very reasonably for what it's selling. It looks like it actually has a decent experience that you could have for that price. Oops. Man, ow, that hurt. Next, we have a game on Steam that's Asian characters, and then one more step, and it does look like it's almost a puzzle game in which you locate characters and enemies in a certain way, and then they synergize by what they're connected to, which maybe that would make sense at some point, but it also seems like it's just overly complicating a gameplay style. English is not supported for 49, so I'm not gonna put that on the follow list, obviously.
Mother, father.
Here we have a game on Steam called My Little Dog Adventure, where you play as a dog running around a low polygon world that I think might be a little bit more polished, enough to the point where I don't think I can just immediately say it's a asset flip. The idea of running around and collecting crystals, kind of like a Pac-Man game, and it not being a horror game like the other horror game where you run around collecting crystals, is slightly appealing. $7.99 might be a little too expensive, but I'll put this on the follow list and we'll see. Here we have a game on Steam called Aokana Extra 1, which is of course a anime visual novel. Let's see. It's an after story from an Aokana experience, so really what this comes down to is if I buy and play Aokana, which I don't even know if that's on the follow list, then that would determine whether you want the after story or not. Here we can see Aokana as its own game is on the following list, so there's really no reason not to just put that on the wish list now. And then Extra 1 can, I suppose, go on the wish list now too. Of course, at some point I might need to be much more critical on all of that. Game Grumps is playing Danganronpa, and I would like to play Danganronpa, but I'm also seeing that even though that isn't 100% just a straight linear visual novel, it's mostly a visual novel slash interaction dating sim game, and there is just a ton of text there, and that certainly would be a case where voice acting would be a lot more helpful. And of course, Game Grumps have the actual ability to voice act, so so them covering the game is like way better than what I would do. Like, really, if I'm gonna cover these video game things, I need to completely give up and abandon the idea of voicing it out loud. I need to just embrace a lower quality experience for the audience and say, all right, I'm just not going to read this out loud. I'm going to play whatever background music is playing. I'm going to sit in silence, or I'm going to commentate, but I'm not going to read what is being said, because that just does not work.
Do you know the eternal void?
Okay. Here we have a game on Steam called White Lily 2, which is tagged as a JRPG, but it, to me, looks like it's mostly a visual novel. I guess it does actually have some JRPG elements to it. They just weren't really focusing on it. So I guess the question would be, of this Chinese game, is there a White Lily 1 even on Steam? And yes, there is. And then there's some DLC. But the first game doesn't even support English, so there's really no way you could play that experience. Right. Necromancy. Hmm.
Can I interest you in reasonably priced souls?
See, what else do we want to do? Yes.
You're nothing but a child.
Here we have a game on Steam called Panmorphia, which looks like it's a adventure game, kind of hidden object game.
Let's wrap this up quickly.
Could I justify playing a game like this? I don't think I really could. $3 and 19 cents, bunch of languages, supposedly brand new. I'll put it on the follow list, but almost certainly there's just a lack of quality there. Two defenseless. Perform Necromancy 3 and banish the enemy before it can deal any damage.
Love shines when all else. This is what love looks like. Love surpasses death.
Get rid of that card. Next we have a game on Steam, Horrornomicon, which is a dark screenshot syndrome horror asset flip game, obviously. Early access, $3.59 English only. That's actually too cheap for horror games, so it kind of makes it obvious that it's not going to be quality. Here we have a game called Inoki, which looks like it is just a box pushing game. Yeah. Single screen, box pushing puzzle game, nothing there. Early access, $5.39. Bunch of numbers for achievements, 10 achievements. Nope, nothing there. Let's see. Next we have a game that's just all Asian characters and looks like an RPG Maker game. English is not supported, $9.23 Chinese only. Still getting tons and tons of Chinese games.
Is that a human?
But in all fairness, that one doesn't even look particularly bad. Let's see. Oh, we hit that. And then hit that.
A job well done.
Do that. Get rid of one of these guys.
Reasonably priced souls.
See, next we have a game on Steam here called Dogman, which looks like it's probably a dark screenshot syndrome thing if the screenshots actually load. $2.99 English only, no achievements at all. Just like everything. Dark screenshots, dark screenshots, dark screenshots, dark screenshots, dark screenshots. That's not a game I want to play. Restore 4 defense. Destroy random enemy follower. Let's see. Start with that one.
Human?
Didn't do that one. Evolve this.
I'm done sticking my. I told you to leave.
You crusty horseshoe.
Hit that. See. Next we have a game on Steam called Pest Control, which to me looks like it might be a game of some interest. Although I don't know if I really want to play a game where I'm a pest control agent. Like I want to see houses that are dirty like this, full of insects. I don't want to see insects. I don't want to hurt and kill animals virtually when it's unnecessary. It's like $17.99 is too expensive, English and Polish. It's early access. I just think personally, I don't think that's a game I'd enjoy to play. Here we have a game on Steam called 1917 The Prologue, which may be a demo, maybe not. Elements of an escape room horror game. It's $10.39. They're comparing it to Oberdin. It's Russian and Chinese, which is slightly suspect, but this actually does kind of look like it's an actual potential horror game. So I'll put it on the follow list. Take note there that that does not feel like that is a game just labeled Prologue because it's a demo. Which seems to be something that happens a lot. Alright. Can we do this and this? Well, I don't know if that worked the way I wanted it to. Gamatsu has an article here. Bloodstained Ritual of the Night for iOS and Android launches in December. Here you see the character drawn slightly differently, frankly. It would be slightly interesting to see just how they think this is going to play on cell phones. You can see there's a massive amount of buttons that you have to do. You can see the graphics aren't going to look quite as good. It also feels like maybe a lot of this has been redrawn. Big buttons over here. Map. Just a ton of stuff that's going to take up your screen space. It would be interesting if at some point we developed a brain interface of some sort and there was a real experience towards not having any heads-up displays, but instead having in-brain displays, and you just knew your health and you knew all of that, and you could just use your screen for the visual inputs. Although at a certain point, if you can put a heads-up display inside the brain of somebody, you could probably put the entire visuals inside the brain of somebody, and then you don't need a screen at all. Here, yeah. Here, let's just mention as far as YouTube. Here we go. We've got this same Red Letter Media video being recommended to me for like the 10th time. We've got a person I don't know, a person I don't know, a person I don't know, person I don't know. This one slightly interests me because I would like to know the history of Falcom. Then you have Game Grumps and a random video. You have Linux text tips, random video. Person I don't know, person I don't know, person I don't know. So just like a ton of videos that are unrelated to the video I just watched. This is like a Hollow Liver, it looks like, VTuber. And then you have somebody called the Spitfire Brit, who I would have sworn was actually, what's his name, Jim Sterling. But I guess I have stopped watching and blocked Jim Sterling. And I actually did break out from that. I have not seen anything from Jim Sterling. I must have deleted his podcasts, and I must have unfollowed his YouTube channel, and I really appreciate that. And in fact, I haven't heard anything from him anyway, so maybe he's just gone completely quiet, which for my purposes, that's perfectly fine. Because he was just banging on the same narrative over and over again. It was extremely repetitive, even if I certainly have been guilty of doing the same. Here we have a game on Steam called Flailure, as in you flail a flail and then fail. And this is a player versus player game. The concept's a little bit unique here in that you have this kind of wonky QWOP style of gameplay. Instead of just your standard, you can run up to somebody and jump on them or punch them. $6.79 English only. Online PvP. But it's still just a player versus player game, and that's still not something I want.
I interest you in reasonably priced souls.
Let's see, we're almost done. Gamatsu has an article here. The Tales of Series 25th anniversary live stream has been announced. So an announcement for an announcement for a new Tales of something. Let's see. Here we have a game on Steam called Sweet Pea, which looks to me like it's probably a rolling platforming game. But the visuals have major problems here. Just blown out as too bright in one screenshot. Way too much in the foreground in another screenshot. Zoomed out too far with way too much reflection and blown out brightness again in another screenshot. Way too much brightness, way too much in the foreground. It's early access for $7.99. I have to say no to that. Alright, do I want to do that?
The living are too proud.
Need a loan?
See you around.
What's funny is I don't think I've heard any of these characters say anything. Probably because I have that turned off, right? Let's see.
My, what a shame.
Let the deadly show begin.
Why am I at a different resolution again?
Am I being freed?
Display leaders animations. Display other users' messages.
I interest you in reasonably
Hey, how's everyone doing tonight?
Need a loan? Back to the friend zone.
See, can we possibly win here? I don't think so.
Need a loan?
Man, I probably need to just grind. Like, I just need to grind and get the daily quest done today to just stay on target. We still haven't figured out how to get tickets. That's the other thing. So unless there are daily logins that give us tickets to have all 7 tickets, and you just have to log in every day, I don't know how you get all 7 tickets to even buy, or even if you wanted to spend money, I don't know how you do it. Which, it shouldn't be that difficult.
Let us make out eternal vows.
Demon Souls remake Japanese voice cast has been announced according to Gamatsu, which he has a full list of probably many fake names of voice actors, which you almost certainly won't recognize unless you're big into following the voice actors in Japanese games. Let's see. This would kill that guy. Here we have a game on Steam called Sky Journey Jigsaw Landscapes, which once again is just jigsaws. Although in this case I would say the art seems to at least be consistent, so maybe somebody actually did make these images. Although I'd almost assume that somebody was trying to make a much bigger game. It ran out of budget and they failed miserably, and so instead they've just made a jigsaw puzzle game instead. And there is a problem with jigsaw puzzles like this, in that there's only one major element, and then there's a lot of sky, a lot of mountains, a lot of green. That's not a particularly good jigsaw puzzle. $1.99 English only. Okay. At 3. And in the turn. Gamatsu has an article here. Opus Echo of Star Song has been announced. Let's see, it's Taiwanese developer. Let's see. Previous titles include Opus Rocket of Whispers and Opus The Day We Found Earth, which are both available for PC, Switch, iOS, and Android. I don't recognize any of these games. It looks pretty. It probably is a fairly short linear story.
We're going all the way.
But yeah, that's a game I guess I need to search out more. Let's see.
May all life prosper and be blessed.
See if we can find some Opus games and see if they're on Steam. Well, unfortunately, Opus alone does not
Unjust.
get you anything, because there's just too many games with Opus in the name. Do I not have the audio? Like, see. Summon a zombie.
What do you think you're doing?
Do that. Do that. And go ahead and evolve one. So here's the game, Opus The Day We Found Earth. It's on my wish list. You can see it's not as visually polished. And then over here is Opus Rocket of Whispers, which does seem like it's a little bit more visually polished, but again, it looks like a very different game. So apparently I own the free prologue. I don't know why I would own the free prologue, but whatever. Yeah. Seems like I'd have to do some catch-up work.
Is that a human?
I'll show you.
I'm done sticking my head. I told you to leave.
Let's see.
I won't stop singing until there's world
I told you to leave.
There we go.
you youngster.
Let's see. Gamatsu has an article here. Kinko RPG Selection Volume 6 for PS4 launches February 25th, 2021. Interesting that there's a PS4 game still being released, but I imagine we'll see a lot of that. As far as these games, though, I don't think I'd recognize any of them. I don't think anybody in the West would really recognize them. They do look like they are just some RPG games that probably never got translated. Okay. Can we win? Wow, and I guess we'll end the stream on a victory. Although not enough of a victory. And we definitely are not hitting the weekly limit. So, yeah. 5 matches, but 2 more of them need to be Shadowcraft or Havencraft. 1 more for the temporary gyms. That's a lot of playing that I don't particularly want to do. And then let's go to the daily bonus. That's exactly what I wanted to check, because we need to figure out how do we get 7 tickets to purchase the skins. Boy, do I kind of hate this background music. I'm a little surprised they didn't do a full takeover with the art. Let's see. You've got just a standard ticket here. And you have just 1 ticket here. So then, where do you get the other tickets? Leader skins on sale now. Click that. So let's pick, who do we want? Well, I think you'd be fairly crazy not to take Alice first. But is there somebody else that we would be more interested in? Let's just get this one. Purchase the leader pack to get the special battle sleeve. Alright, well then how do you purchase it? This doesn't make any sense. See, you're at the shop. You go to buy crystals. There's only crystals here. Real world money. You go to buy cards. And you can only buy packs, pre-built decks, and temporary cards. You go to buy supplies. And then under items, it's just Seer's globes. And sleeves are all crystals. So I think this is just BS. I think you probably... We have 1 ticket. And you can only... And you just have to buy something with the ticket. And then... Let's just see how this goes. Yeah. And then without the tickets, then it changes the crystals. Ah, you see. Now I see how this works. And since we didn't see that original price, I kind of assumed that the price was 2,800 crystals. Ah, this is bull. Some grade A bull. There's no way to get 7 tickets. Absolutely not a way. And yeah, that just feels greedy. That feels really, really greedy to the first taste is free. And did we even make a good decision on that? Let's see. We'll try him out. Of course, yeah, you're also going to be hearing a lot of Japanese, because this will be a Japanese-only character who's only voiced in Japanese. And I imagine that might be one of the saving graces of Shadowverse as it is that they may just not be willing to voice act all of the, translate all of the characters' lines. Although they may not care either. We are not making a lot of progress on the battle pass. We're just making progress in general. And at a certain level, I don't think even buying the battle pass solves the main issue here. The main issue is that in Shadowverse's greed to make you want to play, to try and force you to play 3 times 3 different quests every single day, they've actually burnt me out prematurely, and I'm just not super interested in that. Let's see. As far as the Humble Bundle store, there's a Humble Choice, which that's the monthly thing, so I don't ever look at that. And there's an audio bundle, Voices of Warhammer. And is there any game bundle? Nope. There's no video game bundle at all. So then that just brings us back to my Twitter feed. And we'll look and see if there's any new news. And then I think we'll be well suited for the weekend. Which, honestly, I need to really get back to playing something and uploading videos. See, we have a Gamma Sutra article. Sega Sammy struggling to weather the pandemic despite strong game sales. Sega Sammy is also apparently selling all of their arcades. Apparently somebody made a cake out that looked like the Mist Island, which, okay. Well, I don't think it actually is like the Mist Island at all. It's just a cake that looks like an island. No, they're actually asking somebody to make a cake that looks like the Mist Island Cyan, the developer of Mist is. Which is an interesting thought, but I don't know how many people are going to take them up on it. It's a difficult challenge. A lot of these contests / things on around games are kind of ridiculous, and even the most obsessive fans probably would not engage in. People need to learn to make things easy. Tigruptor has an article here. Low Marvel Avengers sales drove a $63 million loss at Square Enix. That's a major loss. So maybe that will, at some point, make Square Enix less of a bad company. Although, who knows, they may just go out of business, too. We're definitely going to see a lot of cases where companies fail and they just blame the pandemic and take no responsibility for it themselves at all, and that'll be sad. This is shocking news. According to TechRaptor, the PlayStation 5 storage expansion won't work at launch, Sony has confirmed. So the M2 stick, memory stick, here we'll just show it here, where you could put in an NVMe, apparently won't even work on day one. Which that's exactly when you would want to take apart your PlayStation 5 and add the expansion, is you don't want to have to come back a year later and add memory at that point. Although that would be the wiser decision, that would require you to unplug your PlayStation 5, remove it from whatever configuration you have as far as what AV console, what shelf it's sitting on. Pull all the cords out, take the whole thing apart. Of course, in a year you could also take it apart and dust it, and that would be a fairly smart move also. So there is an argument for waiting at least a year. That is oddly on top of the fact that it seems like you only have about 600 gigabytes. I saw this article and then I must have closed it, of usable space on the PlayStation 5. So yeah, you really aren't going to have that much space. Maybe you can have 10 games and 10 to maybe 20 smaller games installed at the same time on the PlayStation 5, but hardly as many people would like. Well, that's going to be it for this stream. There's really nothing else to talk about. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend to follow me on any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below. And if you want to support me further, there's a link to Patreon, or you can friend me on Steam and gift me a game off my wishlist. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.